Hi, I'm Karis, and I'm second-generation Chinese American. When it comes to beauty standards, my story starts with American Girl dolls. While my mother had banned Barbie dolls because of the unhealthy body standards they promoted, she was more on board with the vision of American Girl dolls, especially the historical ones. There was only one Asian doll, Ivy Ling, and my mother was delighted to find out that she was of Chinese American descent. Ivy donned the classic bob with bangs and had vaguely oriental clothing. She was a perfectionist and worked very hard. Thanks, Mattel. Personally, 8-year-old me wasn't very appreciative of the only doll in the store who had smaller eyes, boring hair, and a weird outfit. I tolerated Ivy, but began saving up my hongbaos. And to my mom's horror, when the next year rolled around, I poured out all my savings on a new American Girl doll. This doll was a blonde, who I christened Abigail. I told my mom I liked Abigail better because she was the pretty one. Ivy was banished to the closet, and Abigail was treated like royalty. While I have to admit that this is a slightly humorous episode, underneath it shows a bit of a tragic reality. Instinctively, even as an 8-year-old, I had this sense that the pretty one was the one who didn't look like me. By the time I hit high school, I genuinely hated how I looked, and I attributed my problem to the fact that I didn't look white enough. Sometimes, because I didn't have any strong Chinese accent, people thought I was half white, and I would beam with delight. I spent hours on my makeup every day to enlarge my eyes, and got blonde highlights. When I entered college, I was overwhelmed by the diversity on campus, and I began to view my culture in a new light. I leaned into emphasizing my Asian features, seeing them now as beautiful. Yet now I had a new dilemma. What standard was I supposed to follow? Should I be skinny like my relatives said? Or curvy? Should I have the traditional pale skin or the Victoria's Secret tan? Should I do my makeup in an American or Chinese style? Over time, I saw that merely taking on Chinese standards because they suited my features better wasn't the solution. When I began to study historic Chinese beauty standards, they seemed just as oppressive as the European standards I had experienced growing up. It was like pick your poison, lead or corsets. Asian Americans are often stuck in the middle of two worlds, and this is clearly shown in the tension between beauty standards. My experience is very unique to my geographical and biographical circumstances, but talking to my peers, I found that we all experience tension as Asian American women trying to navigate pressures that come from all around. While I am worlds away from my 8-year-old self, I still have some of the same questions. This film is a tribute to my past, present, and future self, along with any other Asian American woman who's experienced this tension. Not only does it seek to highlight the insecurities that I thought were unique to myself, but also, I hope it will begin to poke holes at the large systematic and societal problems that my generation faces today. How would you describe the ideal Asian American woman?
That can get complicated. I feel like everyone has a different stance on that.
I would say the ideal in like society's eyes for them would be like someone who can do whatever they want but also like fulfills like what their parents want to see in them.
They're smart. There is the model minority stereotype that still dominates. They are hardworking. They are loyal. They're friendly and polite, but still reserved.
Just having that bilingual fluency is really important, and also like I just feel like the ideal Asian American is respectful of both of their cultures, and I guess coalesces the best parts of both of them into like forming this one identity where they're almost like a chameleon.
Stereotypically, the Asian American woman would be like very like academic. I also think there's still the expectation for Asian women to be like very feminine and soft-spoken still.
I think the ideal Asian American woman is supposed to be very womanly. So more than anything else, and then sort of permanently somewhere in the ages between 18 and 35, never older than 35, or never to appear older than 35. Overall, that youthful, thin, smooth, global ideal definitely kind of coalesces on the body of an Asian woman.
This is my eyelash curler. When I was in 7th grade, I began religiously curling my lashes daily. I was so self-conscious about having straight eyelashes that I do eyelash curling touch-ups in the bathroom in between classes. When I was in high school, I remember watching dozens of Asian American vloggers who underwent plastic surgery, boob jobs, nose jobs, and the classic, double eyelid surgery. Is surgery an empowering decision? One where women can exercise their agency to change their bodies? Or is it simply another industry grabbing our money and convincing ourselves that we are only beautiful if we are willing to pay the price and go under the knife? What type of ideal does surgery seek to align us with?
Did you ever feel insecure about your eyes, eyelids, or eyelashes?
Yeah, I'd say definitely, probably the monolids. I think I had always just wished I had double eyelids because I see them everywhere and I was like, oh, they're so gorgeous.
I didn't realize it until my friends in middle school would tell me, "Oh, you have double eyelids. That's such a good thing." And then after realizing that it was something that Asian people kind of strive for, want, it became a sense where something I was confident about, a trait that was oh, I feel special that I have double eyelids.
I remember not liking my multiple eyelids. I have multiple folds within the big fold, and so I remember thinking this is so weird, it looks so wrinkly with my eyes. And I remember actually there was a point in time where I consciously remember there is no part of my body that I'm completely satisfied with. Yeah, I also didn't like having straight lashes and having sparse lashes.
I started getting lash extensions, and I think that's a big thing in the Asian community because they figured out if we can't curl our lashes and put mascara on, might as well just use lashes. I had monolids. I was kind of insecure about it. I remember feeling I don't really like the way my eye was shaped and how it felt I couldn't put makeup on. But after I had double lids, I feel I could use American makeup more.
So they just naturally became double-lidded?
Yeah, which is really nice for me because people get surgery for it. But yeah, I just woke up one morning. I think I didn't get enough sleep, and it just popped up on my face. I was like, okay, cool.
Some of my classmates in middle school, they did right after middle school, on their nose and also the, what do you call that?
Double eyelid?
Yeah, double eyelid.
Last summer, I got plastic surgery. I got double eyelid surgery, and that was something that I was really insecure about my whole life. And I don't know if you know, but there's special tape, makeup tape that we use to create double eyelids if you have monolids. And I used to wear that every single day.
So I personally use the tape if I put makeup on.
I know it's also very normalized to get plastic surgery. I heard for people's birthdays in Korea, they can get plastic surgery.
My Korean side of the family were very okay, sure, whatever about it, because in Korea, actually, some people even get double eyelid surgery as a graduation gift from high school before they go to college, things like that. So it's very normalized. My Japanese side of the family, my mom, she was very against it. She was you were born this way, this is the body that I gave you, why can't you be satisfied with it? The surgery itself was really strange because they don't put you under or anything, they just do local anesthesia. They take your eyelids and they flip them open, they flip them backwards, and then they sew like sew your muscles and then they flip it back. And the reason why they keep you awake is because they'll flip it back and be like, okay, look in the mirror. Do you like this angle, or like do you like this width? No matter how much I try not to conform to beauty standards, it's still like, oh, like I'm a little bit closer to the beauty standard, and that just makes me feel happy.
Do you feel like there is a line that you draw in terms of even like plastic surgery or something like that? Or do you think like anything goes is fine?
No, I think I mean, it's very controversial. I personally do not do filler in the nose. But if you look at TikTok or Instagram, you will see like rhinoplasty. You can make your nose appear narrower and pointier with fillers, but I would never do that because it's one of the highest risk area for blindness.
I think if someone wants to do it, they should. Like, I feel like it's not. I mean, as long as they really feel like it's more of like a enhancement rather than like a change that they want to make about themselves to like fit another type of person. If they're just enhancing themselves, I think it's cool. Yeah, I think personally too, like I haven't really like been against it. Like if let's say I'm like 50 and I want Botox, like okay, like then I'll just do it. But I guess it depends on how I'm feeling about like everything then. Like I would ideally want to feel in a place where I'm like I don't need anything to enhance myself when I am 50.
I think I'm open to it if I had money.
I mean, I think it's like a lot of like commodification of like beauty, or like the beauty standards have been like weaponized or exploited to help like, you know, the aims of like capitalism or just making like more profit in general. So it's like profiting off like individuals' like insecurities. I mean, I know in some cases it's for like actual like physical restoration after an injury, but I'm talking more about like just like aesthetically if they want to like enhance an aspect of and like I don't think it's up to me to decide like what's acceptable. It's up to like the individual, but I think it's like systemic forces that led this individual to think maybe that like plastic surgery is necessary, or is like the like after look is like more preferable. So I would say that like it's more like socially conditioned when it is about like accentuating like futures rather than, as I said previously, like some like maybe like they had an accident so they just want to like restore back to like normal, you know.
Yeah, no, there was a plastic surgeon who told me, he was like, my business has changed in that people don't come in for one facelift and then never come again. We have to operate like salons now, where you come in, you get a procedure, and then we want you to come back.
There's a question that has been bothering me. We always talk about how we need more representation in media to fix the problem of body insecurity. And trust me, I'm the first to get on board if I see an Asian American model or actress. But it hit me recently. When I compare myself to a Victoria's Secret model, I may feel bad, but to some extent, I know it's impossible for me to look like her. My body proportions, my hair color, my eye shape, there is a world of difference between us. In contrast, when I see an Asian American model who just happens to be perfectly photoshopped, then there's this idea in my mind that with just a bit more effort, I can be her, and that makes me feel even worse about myself. Representation, globalization, digitization. It all becomes a big mess.
Way back when, before colonizers in certain countries, I feel like, for example, like Japan, a long time ago, before that much Western influence, the standard of Japanese beauty was very like attainable because it was realistic for Japanese women and like, Asian women. But now that there's a lot of Western influence, now we have all these like unrealistic standards, like double eyelids, or like being really tall, like stuff that you can't really change much. People still thought pale skin was good, but that was more because like that meant you were rich, like you didn't have to do farm work and be tanned, rather than like because you were more like white people necessarily. And it's not like a skin color like discrimination kind of thing. It was definitely more because of like class. And one of the things they would do is like they would use makeup to like make their face very white, like they would paint their face white.
Yeah, there's a real tension there. I'm really excited that when I go to Target and I see the signage in the stores, it's not just all really skinny white girls, which was true when I was growing up in the 90s. It makes me realize what a dark place we had been in before, where there was only this one cookie cutter ideal of what Americans could look like. So I feel really warmed and hopeful about the fact that there is more representation, at least in our media, because we've all learned over the years and through research how important diverse representation is, because you kind of can't be what you don't see, right? So that's really exciting for me. And yet, on the other hand, there's a lot of ways in which standards have become more rigorous, as you described, within one particular group. So let's take Asians, you and I are of East Asian descent. There is an idea or an ideal of an Asian beauty, right? And that Asian beauty is, now that we can see them so represented in K-pop and other places, there is kind of a mold. And that mold, for example, is extremely thin. It is kind of feminine, like often ultra feminine. There's not a lot of range within the particular mold itself. And that's where I think there's a lot more work to be done.
If diversifying the standard only creates new challenges, where do we go from here? This whole process really makes me stop and consider, what makes beauty standards so sticky? It feels like they've existed since the beginning of human history, from Helen of Troy to Twiggy to Kim Kardashian. It makes me wonder, what would a world without beauty standards look like? And is that even a world that we'd want to inhabit? It seems human nature craves a standard, something to strive for, something to idolize. If the standard is here to stay, could we change it for the better? In an age of instant gratification, what would it mean to redefine beauty around what endures, what blossoms rather than what fades with time?
See, if the whole world was blind, my definition of beauty would be based on personality as well as someone's actions.
Personality, like how you carry yourself in conversations and treat other people.
Your character, not like building up resentment and hatred, because I do think a lot of people carry like a lot of hate about, things that don't really pertain to them.
Probably from your voice, maybe. A lot of like what you can hear, and maybe probably also like what you can touch, maybe.
I think beauty would then be just how you act and how you give back to the world, or how you treat other people.
I would define beauty as something that makes you feel most alive. Like, beauty is hard to separate from what we see, right? Because even beauty that I see in nature or beauty that I see in art, I am seeing. But when I feel beautiful, so when I'm talking about like when I feel beautiful, even if I were unseen, I'm feeling most me. So like I'm feeling most aligned with my truest self, the core of who I am, my emotional engine, my soul. And when I'm struck by beauty in the world, it's often that same emotional engine, that soul, that center of me that feels struck. So to me, beauty is a kind of aliveness, and it's almost a kind of spirituality or a godliness. It's like feeling closer to forces that are sort of bigger than who we are on this earth.
Hearing alternatives to the current standard makes me think, when it comes to beauty, we've settled for far too little. When judging another's beauty, we've restricted our scope to a person's outer shell, and as a result, that outer shell alone is where we invest our time, money, and energy, often to the detriment of the person within. The Bulimia Project estimates that 30 million people in the US have had an eating disorder at some point in their lifetime. Forbes reports that the U.S. economy relies heavily on the beauty industry, which generated approximately $94.36 billion in cosmetics and beauty sales in 2023. Meanwhile, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons notes a rise in younger patients, with an 8% increase in demand for breast augmentation since 2022, and a growing interest in facelifts among Gen Z. Imagine an America where beauty means more than a bra size, where humans invested the time, energy, and money that they do now into creating a world where inner beauty is not only prized, but its meaning expanded beyond shallow affirmations to include the stories gleaned from suffering. Imagine a society where the narrow definition of outer beauty is also enlarged, not just to include a diversity of shapes and sizes, but even to include things like how well a person loved. Finally, imagine a world that celebrated beautiful stories over scales, friendship over followers, and kindness over curated K-beauty routines. Imagine what it would be like to live in that world. What if that world could be ours?